Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, back in the podcast studio with part 2 of reviews from this year's Tribeca Festival. But first, we got a brief word from the sponsors.
No Rest for the Weekend's coverage of the Tribeca Film Festival is sponsored by Blackmagic Design, the world's highest quality products for the feature film, post and broadcast industries. Blackmagicdesign.com. And by the Tonkawa Film Festival, celebrating short films from around the world. TonkawaFilmFestival.com.
And joining me once again, you know him, you love him, all the way from New Jersey, your favorite film writer, Mr. Eric McClanahan.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing?
Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
Feels like no time has passed.
Doesn't it, though?
Well, we got more movies to talk about, and too little time to talk about them all. So let's get right into it. What's your first item up for bid?
So one of the films that I was really excited to see during the Tribeca was a film called Paradise Records. It's written and directed and starring Bobby Hall, who many know as the rapper Logic. Logic recently appeared in Kevin Smith's 430 movie in one of the films within the film, Astro Blaster and the Beavermen. He played the titular Astro Blaster.
Who else?
Right. And saw him on screen. I was like, that guy looks familiar. And guess he'd been working on this for a while. And Paradise Records takes place inside a record store called Paradise Records. And he is the owner and proprietor of the store, and he has a staff of wacky misfits, and it just follows one day at the record store as things go awry, as they often do in the film world. And it's very much, I thought, just hearing about it, I was like, this is going to be this generation's Empire Records. And I watched the film, and that's exactly what it is. Like, it follows a lot of the same beats. It has a lot of the same structure, where there's an overarching story. The store's going to go under. Are we going to be able to keep the doors open? We need money. There's a robbery. There's a gun in the third act. So it has a lot of there's shoplifting, and then there's just like silly stories about music. It's co-produced and edited by Kevin Smith, who also appears in the film in an undisclosed role. It's very funny. I laughed out loud many times. Logic is a natural performer. He just wants to be weird on camera, and that's why he made this movie, to be able to do that. And surrounded himself with a really talented cast, Tremaine Hudson and Reed Northrup and Mary Elizabeth Kelly. It's a great movie. I really like. If you like Kevin Smith films, if you liked Empire Records, you're gonna like Paradise Records. It was a lot of fun. I got to talk to the supporting cast, and they had a lot of fun making the film, and it comes through on screen. A lot of great cameos. It's cool.
Yeah, Kevin Smith joint, you got cameos. But yeah, and you can find that your interview with the cast on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. But yeah, it looks great. I want to be able to see it. I didn't get a chance to watch it because I was too busy watching other things and doing way too much work. But from what I did see, it looked fun. It looked a lot of fun. All right, so moving on, we got another comedy. This one is quite dark. And it was one of those films that when I first saw it, I was like, how am I going to review this? So the film is called Lemonade Blessing. It's by first-time director Chris Marola, who I interviewed. Lovely guy, super young. He looks like just got out of his swaddling clothes. He's so young, sort of nubile and fresh. And the movie is made entirely by like Gen Zers. So it's a movie for young people by young people. It stars Jake Ryan, who you've also seen in films like Moonrise Kingdom. He was the kid in that. And his cohort, Sky Alyssa Friedman, who's also lovely in it. And he's this Catholic school kid. His rather strictly religious mom has placed him in this Catholic school. And like from day one, he's totally uncomfortable. He meets this rather rebellious, like hellraiser atheist girl named Lilith. And they sort of bond right away. But she is hell-bent on corrupting him and turning him from his faith because her sort of indoctrination to the Catholicism part of it has made her a complete she's almost an antichrist. I mean, she's an atheist to the max. And, she starts to get him to do these like dares that are sacrilegious. Like the first thing she's like, all right, I'll go out with you if you say F Jesus Christ. Like that's the first one. So if you're a religious person, especially if you're a Catholic, this may offend you. And the other thing that got me, that was really kind of put me out of sorts when I first saw it, and I was later sort of relieved. So these kids in the movie are 15, and they are in these somewhat sexual situations together, very intimate scenes, to the point of you're like, should I be watching this? I feel like I'm encroaching on, like I feel like I'm seeing something I shouldn't see. And it gets a little bit graphic. You don't really see anything, but the way they talk is rather graphic. And I'm like, this is uncomfortable. And I think that might be the desired effect. I later found out that the two actors are actually in their early 20s.
Yeah.
So they are not minors, which is good, but they still look like minors. And when you see them in these situations, you're like, oh my God, the sacrilege and everything like that. It's definitely got this edge to it. It's a dark comedy, but I think certain people will resonate with it. It's almost like kind of Wes Anderson-y, like sort of like Rushmore, but like with a real dark edge to it, and with the sexuality cranked up to 11. Again, I don't think it's a film for everyone, but it's really well done. This guy is a first-time feature director. I thought he did a great job, and everybody's really great in it, to the point where they're so realistic that it does make you feel uncomfortable. But if that's the desired effect and you dig that, you will like this movie. Will this movie find a home? I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know where.
It sounds like a sure bet because, again, I just saw some stills from the picture and I got the Wes Anderson vibes. I read the synopsis and I was like, oh, this is like, Igby Goes Down meets Rushmore. Like, yeah, it's a home run.
Yeah, and again, almost like Oh Hi, like this is a movie by young people for young people. I think young people are gonna dig it. I don't know about older folks. It may have some splits between male, female in terms of how they respond to it, but it's going to elicit a response. Like people are going to go, oh, wow. Okay. Like it's not for the faint of heart. Yeah. You can watch my interview with Chris Marola. It's on the YouTube channel. He's a lovely cat. And we talked about the religion stuff. We talked about the sexual stuff. And he was great. So I wish him a lot of luck. I hope this does find placement somewhere. I'm interested to see where it'll place and what the audience response will be. All right. So you saw yet another documentary.
Yes, this one again, also in the comedy realm, but it gets heavy, and that's what I like about it. I watched this documentary called We Are Pat, made by Rowan Haber. And it's about the character Pat that was created by Julia Sweeney, that aired on Saturday Night Live in the 90s and was even turned into a feature film that was during the time in the 90s when SNL was like, let's make a bunch of movies.
Yeah, we got a Night at the Roxbury.
We got really thin concepts.
Yes. It's really enough material for a sketch, but let's make it an hour and a half out of it anyway.
Exactly. But the thing with the Pat sketches was Pat was this very kind of quirky individual who just tried to be themselves, and everyone around Pat needed to know if Pat was a man or a woman.
The deliberately androgynous character.
Yes.
And that was the gag.
Yes. And what was interesting was, it was the one punchline, well, what is Pat? That's all it was. And they made so many sketches, but for young people who would see those sketches or watch those films who had questions themselves about their own gender, in the intersexuality of their gender, am I a man? Am I a woman? Am I neither? Am I both? And then if they didn't feel that the gender that was assigned to them was correct, they would see this character in these sketches and go, oh, that's me. Like I see myself. But then they would just see it used for this stupid late night punchline. Well, Rowan Haber grew up watching this movie, obsessing over this movie, and realized that they saw themselves in the character, but the character had some flaws. They wanted to reclaim Pat rather than just jettison the poor representation. They wanted to reclaim Pat and make Pat sketches that were written by trans and non-binary comedians. And so that's what this film does. They get a group of trans and non-binary comedians, they put them in a room, and they write Pat sketches. And they talk about Pat, and they talk about their understanding of Pat. And eventually Rowan reaches out to Julia Sweeney and is able to chat with her. And she talks about the creation of Pat. And a really interesting thing about the documentary that she reveals is that Pat was based on a weird guy at her office. And this guy was just weird. And whenever she embodied the character, everyone just noted the androgyny. They're like, are you playing a guy? And that's where the first, like, well, what is Pat joke came up, and that became the character. That's what the crowd responds to, so that's what they leaned into. So, Julia Sweeney wasn't trying to create an androgynous character. She wasn't trying to create a non-binary character before there was even a word for that. She was just, lampooning this weird guy at her office. The documentary deals with a lot of different perspectives of the character and how they can reflect not only Pat's journey as a character, but also an individual's journey seeing Pat, and also the movement. There was this really interesting moment. I was on the carpet. I was talking to this one comedian, and they said, I realized when I stopped presenting in a feminine way, I'd be walking down the streets of San Francisco and people were like, oh, you look like Pat. And they were trying to say that to be hurtful. And they thought, well, that's 30 years old. Like, why is that where your brain goes? And I countered, I was like, do you think that it means that maybe we've made some progress if they have to reach that far into the Wayback Machine to find some slur to lob at you? And they, at first they said, no, actually, you've given me something to think about. And that was a really great moment. And I got to chat with Julia Sweeney. I got to chat with Rowan as well. And we got to talk a lot about what this film means and what this character means and what this reclamation project is about. And it was great. The documentary is good. It's impactful, but it's still, there's hope. It's not doom and gloom. It's about, like, there's a big section in the middle where there's a trans non-binary comedy show, and all the comedians are trans and non-binary, and it's a safe space for them to tell their jokes, and there's some really funny jokes in there. So like it's about community, it's about moving forward, it's about a light dawning and looking at things in a better, more inclusive light. So I really appreciated the documentary. I really appreciated my time on the carpet talking to everyone. If you guys haven't checked that out, it's on YouTube, but it was a lot of fun.
The film won an award. I think Rowan Haber actually won a award for like Best New Documentary Director at Tribeca. So I think one of the things that we're seeing, like, trend-wise in doc is this experiential, personal type thing. It's like Chasing Amy,
right? Which
we both independently covered the year that we met. But like those types of which also had a non-binary sort of trans director, and it's kind of like I feel like it's a statement about how film, how media affects people, and now those people are growing up and making media and talking about the effect it had on them and how transformative it is, in some cases literally. We made a documentary about Ghostbusters, and that was the same thing. It was like this film affected us at a young age, and we're still talking about it 40 years later. Yeah, it looked great. I saw some of it. I didn't get the chance to see all of it, but I really liked the personal perspective of it, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah. I wore my Chasing Amy hat on the carpet as a signal to say, like, I know this story, and Rowan was like, I love your hat. And I was like, thank you. But yeah, like with Chasing Amy, Sav saw Chasing Amy at a young age and was like, oh wow, those people, they're
Also, not a great movie in terms of like queer
right.
representation.
But they were like,
You
oh,
know?
these people are, they are who they are, and they don't have to apologize for it. And then found out, it was made by, a white guy,
Right.
a white hetero male.
Right.
And then that's kind of what happened with this Pat doc. That's people are seeing this character that's non-binary, and again, like long before there was a word for that, and they're just like, oh, and then they find out it was made by some white girl.
Yeah, and I mean, it is an interesting question because some comedy ages like milk, and if you tried to do that sketch the way they did it in the '90s now, you'd probably get a lot of backlash to it. And there's a lot of comedy like that, So but it's interesting that somebody who's like, no, we're gonna own that.
We don't need to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Let's just raise the baby.
We're gonna reclaim this,
yes.
so to speak. It's interesting. All right, so I got another film to talk about that was actually, I think, my favorite of the festival, and it's way different than anything that we've talked about. So this is sort of a crime thriller, espionage, sort of a twisty-turny thriller kind of thing, a quiet thriller with some action. Stars Riz Ahmed. It's Riz Ahmed, Lily James, and Sam Worthington. It's interesting because I didn't even recognize Sam Worthington in the film because normally he's sort of the hero and he's the heavy in this, which is interesting. And Lily James is doing an American accent in it, and she's got I think she's normally a blonde, and she's got like dark hair. I didn't recognize her either. And Riz Ahmed is fantastic in the movie, even though I don't think you hear him speak for at least a half an hour into it. It's called Relay. I was like, why is this called Relay? Like, that's kind of a weird word if you're not talking about a group of people racing with a baton. And it's called Relay because Riz Ahmed's character, he's like a fixer for people. When people get into a certain type of jam, he helps them get out, but he does it so he stays anonymous. And the way he stays anonymous is by using a relay service for the deaf. So he types into a machine, that goes to a call center, and then someone from the call center calls the client or calls whoever he's trying to communicate with and talks to them. And they are, there's a special kind of thing you have to say, like, over, that kind of thing when you're done speaking. And they have these conversations back and forth through the relay operator. And the way the relay, and I don't even know, maybe this exists. I'm not sure if it's a movie convention or I'm terrible at research, and I'm lazy, so I didn't do any of it. But like the way it works is the relay service is completely anonymous and does not keep records of calls and will not give out anyone's records. Even if the government comes a knocking, they're like, no, we don't keep records. We can't tell you what these people said. So, which is why he uses it, because it's secure. So in this particular case, he sort of gets over his head in this entanglement, and Lily James is his client. It's really, like, if you're into movies with like a tight script that keep you guessing and keep you on the edge of your seat, this was it, man. Like, this was like really, it's tense. It's got a lot of great moments in it, and there's times where you're like, how's he going to get out of this? And like, what's he going to do to fool the pursuers and stuff like that? And it's really like, and there's a heart to it as well. We do eventually learn about his character. He's not just sort of a cipher, which I didn't know if we were going to get. I was like, we don't even know what this dude's name is.
Right,
like,
yeah, exactly.
So, but eventually we do kind of learn more about him, and he does get more of a backstory. I don't want to give too much away, but it's really good and really tight. And it's one of those films that, like, you come out of there kind of pumped. I saw it in the theater at one of the press screenings. It was me and maybe a dozen people in the theater, but it was really great to see on a big screen. It looks good. It's a New York film. It's set and shot in New York, it's not. I'm pretty sure it's not like Vancouver for New York, because there's actual places I recognize because I live here. It's really cool. Like, I had a lot of fun with it, and like Riz Ahmed is amazing. Like, he's just cranking out the jams right now. And he's in so many things because he's so damn good.
Yeah.
And everybody's great in it. I just thought, and like I was like, wait, are there any Americans in this movie? Like Worthington. You got Worthington, he's an Aussie. Lily James is a Brit. Riz Ahmed is a Brit. But they're all
playing New York.
and they're all playing like really convincing American accents. But like it's really well done, really good stuff. It does have distribution. It should be, if it's not out by the time you see this, it will be out soon. Definitely check it out if you can.
So it sounds like a noir thriller, like really just like cat and mouse.
It doesn't have the shady noir, lighting, and so like it doesn't have the trapping style of a noir. But yeah, it's got it's more like an espionage kind of thriller, like people doing either government corporate type espionage and trying not to get caught, and there's bad people involved, and trying to get the whistleblower and things like that. Like I said, I don't want to say too much about it because it's a movie best served cold. But if you do get a chance to see it, don't even watch a trailer.
I've stopped watching trailers.
Yeah,
just in general. I've just stopped. Like for Tribeca, I didn't watch any trailers for any of the films. I saw stills. I read a synopsis. I said yes or no. And then if I just said yes, I wouldn't watch a trailer. I want to go in. I just want to have a good time.
I think as a person who's like getting paid for your opinion or like trying to form an opinion, I do believe in trailer hype though. I think there is a review of the lead up to the movie as well, like the whole experience of the movie. But when you're seeing stuff at festivals, like we're seeing this stuff first before anybody can, and often I don't even have time to watch trailers. Like we're doing so much, but like for this movie, if you do see something, just turn it on, go see it. I don't know if it's going to be a streamer or a theatrical release, but it's really good and definitely deserves a watch. All right, so do you want to do one more and then we can get out of here?
But let's talk about A Bright Future by a Uruguayan filmmaker,
Lucia Garibaldi.
Yes, and we spoke with her earlier before the festival started. Very lovely. She's really excited about the film. It's a science fiction film, but it's not a science fiction like action or thriller. It's a slow drama, And what's interesting about this,
it's more of a science fiction setting.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's set in
so
the
like
future.
It's in the near future. We kind of ruined the planet, so it's somewhat prescient. And the premise is that the main character is given the opportunity to go and work in the North, and they stay in the North. And in the North, they have a think tank where they're trying to solve the world's problems. And she has taken some IQ tests and some aptitude tests, and they said, you're smart and you think outside the box. You're going to come help us think outside the box, and you're going to come up to the North and help us save the world. And she's like, yeah, but I don't want to. And it's about identity. It's about being told who you are before you have the chance to figure out who you are. And so she's trying to figure out if this is something she actually wants. Her sister had gone to the North, but she never hears from her. She leaves her messages, and they're up until hundreds of messages, and just doesn't hear back from her. She's like, what are they doing up there? Do I want to be completely ostracized from my family? She meets this new neighbor in her little apartment complex area that says that she was once selected but decided not to go. And she's just weird. So she's kind of like learning about her. There's another subplot where birth rates have dropped significantly. So this character is the youngest person in her district.
It's got like a Children of Men type vibe to it.
And there's a fetishization of youth that everyone just, is just so enamored with her and fascinated by her. And so, the whole community is super excited she got selected to go to the North, but they're also going to miss her because she's the youngest thing there. And they're like, oh, we don't want you to go. So it's dealing with all that, but it's about identity. It's about finding out who you are for yourself, and making your own decisions. And it's great. It's a great movie. I really dug it. It won some awards at Tribeca. Lucia Garibaldi was a wonderful interview. Just really, she's excited about the work, and that comes through in the film. I liked it a lot. It's really cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I will definitely check it out when I can. And I assume that the movie is in Espanol.
Sí.
C. Okay. All right, man. I'm gonna wrap up, but that was great. We had a lot of films to talk about. There are actually more films to talk about as well, but we only have so much time. But for those who want to know you, see you, read your stuff, where can they find you?
You can find me on ain'titcool.com, nerdinitiative.com, and cinemascholars.com. And of course, I'm on the Instas and the X's and the Facebook.
That's all we got for you today. Thank you so much for taking this trip down the rabbit hole once again. We got more content. If you want to read reviews, if you're a reader, you can read them on the website, No Rest for the Weekend podcast.com. You can catch our other channels at btrpmedia.com. And I'd like to thank my man Eric for showing up. Thank you for schlepping from Jersey to talk about these films for me. And I want to give a big thanks to our mighty, mighty sponsors, Blackmagic Design and the Tonkawa Film Festival. For the BTRP Media Network, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This is the BTRP Media Network.